Hello and welcome to the ADHD Guru podcast. My name is Jonathan Carroll. I am an ADHD and executive functioning coach. For more information on me, you can visit my website at adhdguru.com. You can call me at area code 877-398-2343. You can send me an email to Jonathan, that's Jonathan at adhdefcoach.com. You can follow me on Twitter at ADHD Guru. You're either listening to this podcast or perhaps you're watching it on my YouTube channel at ADHD Guru. We're going to start putting some podcasts on as videos as well to give you the different options to hear this and interact with it. And you can follow me on Facebook at ADHD and Executive Functioning Coach. Also want to make a few announcements. One is if you are listening to this through iTunes or the Google Play Store, if you could please give me some feedback. Good feedback is always appreciated, but constructive feedback is always helpful. And if you have something you'd like me to talk about, I would be happy to do that. Just put it in the comment section. So if you could just give me some feedback would be great. Also, I was just recently a guest on my good friend Tara McGillicuddy's podcast. She has ADHD Support Talk Radio, is on sleep issues with ADHD. So you should check that out. I will put a link to it in the description section of this podcast and video. So with that, let me jump into the topic. Transparency is I'm an adult with ADHD. I think I mention that regularly, but if this is your first podcast or you're watching this on YouTube, it's always helpful to know that. And I bring up family ADHD for personal reason. I have an 8-year-old son, and we are coming to that point now where we believe he may have ADHD. He's run through some testing, and it's starting to show that, potentially speaking, he could be a candidate for ADHD. And quite honestly, I feel with today's help and the things we understand and the way that we're setting things up, kids with ADHD are in a much better place today than they were when I was a kid. So I was diagnosed around 6 years old. I was obviously had the challenges of ADHD, and, my parents were trying to get answers, and they went and saw different doctors and took me in for different testing and all that good stuff. So they, through the process of having me diagnosed, they said, oh, well, here's a kid who's got this thing ADHD, and they walked in the schools. The school's like, wait, what now? All we know is that your son can't behave and he's creating distractions for other kids, and et cetera, et cetera. So when I was a student, really, they didn't know what to do with me. Today, I think we have a much greater understanding of ADHD. We're able to offer accommodations to help students with ADHD be more productive. So that's the good news. But it doesn't mean that the struggle goes away. Like, oh, well, now that we understand this and that we have different options for it, that it goes away. So for people like my son, having a father that does this professionally, although, as I like to say, sometimes being a parent and being a professional are two completely different professions and will create much different circumstances. Okay, so I would say that we're in a position to offer him the best help. But so why do I bring up family and ADHD? Why am I telling stories? Well, I think as parents, when we know we have ADHD and we suspect that we have a child with it, or if we have multiple children with it, I also have a 6-year-old daughter, and she's has her moments. So as a parent, as a professional, how do we handle something like this? Well, I'll give you a couple ideas and certainly things you can do. Is I think the first part of it is to be as transparent with our children as possible. This is what I have. This is what I deal with. These are things that help me. How can I help you be a more successful person? Offer that type of support and transparency. I think sometimes when we don't tell our children that information, and he or she stumbles upon it on his or her own, creates a much different problem for us than if, let's say, we just go ahead and tell them what's going on. Like, hey, you know what? This is what you have. It's not a death sentence. It doesn't mean that you're not smart. It doesn't mean that you're not talented. It doesn't mean that you don't have great skills. It just means that, things are going to be a little more challenging for you. So I think that's the first part of it. Excuse me. I think the second part of it for us would be to um, make sure that as we go through the treatment process, that we recognize that sometimes what works for us, if we have ADHD, isn't going to work for other people. I often like to say in my practice that you give me 100 individuals with ADHD, I'll show you a million ways that it manifests itself. So understanding that some of the times that we do things, and the way we do things and how we do things is going to be different across a variety of ability levels. So don't get frustrated if something works for you and it doesn't work for your child, or if something works for one of your children and not the other child. Just recognize that this is a disorder of regulation and that there's going to be times where things are different and more challenging. So one last point I'd like to make is, and most important, is love your child, love your spouse, love your parent, love whoever is affected by ADHD, because I think they're going to need that unconditional love. I think that we know we struggle. We know we have moments of challenges, and it's so important to be a support network for people. I cannot stress that enough. Um, I have a great support network in place. My spouse does not have ADHD. She gets me because I tell her when something is impacting me, my transparency piece of it. I tell her what helps me. She gets it. She supports me in that way, and it's really helpful. So I would say that, that again, the transparency piece of it, the understanding that it impacts people differently, and the ability to recognize and understand what helps are three really important pieces to this. Okay, so with that, I'm going to close by giving you my contact information one more time. My website is adhdguru.com. You can call me at area code 877-398-2343. You can follow me on Twitter at ADHD Guru. Perhaps you're watching this on YouTube, but if you're not, I have a YouTube channel that's ADHD Guru. I'm on Facebook at ADHD and Executive Functioning Coach. So I look forward to your feedback and comments and ratings on YouTube, on iTunes, and the Google Play Store. And we'll see you the next time. Thank you so much.